What's good, YouTube? And today it's finally here. What's good, YouTube? And today it's finally here. This is a Quake's beginner's guide, how to Quake 101, I guess. I'm not gonna say this is the best Quake guide out there or anything. I mean, to some it might be, I don't know. It's really up to the people watching. But I'm gonna try to do my best to give all the people who want to learn how to Quake. Because I know some of you guys don't know how to Quake and want to learn how to Quake, or you're in the process of learning how to Quake, but you're not there yet. So I'm gonna show you give you some beginner tips and like what you should do, like the timing of when you should push your like the heavy and the dex, or heavy and parry. It's the same timing regardless, except parry you just parry and you gotta wait for the stun time to go away. But yeah, with that being said, let's get into it. Now before I get started, what you want to do is understand how Quake works, which is pretty simple, honestly. So you could still, she's really good on Awaken regardless. But yeah, she basically has concussion, and whenever you do a heavy attack, concussion gets put on her opponent, and they lose 100% ability accuracy whenever you got the concussion on. And then after you have 4 of them, when they're stunned, they get a concussion for a few seconds. The aftershocks happen, and then it gets a concussion when they're stunned after you get 4 aftershocks on them. 4 or more. But yeah, whenever you charge a heavy, you automatically evade that first attack, and then you just basically evade it. Obviously, if they got like True Strike or something that counters evade, or like the True Focus though, that's new. It counters Quake, so she's not good there unless you want to fight like normal, or you just parry it and do the heavy when they're stunned, and do the heavy, let go of the heavy attack. But you can also add 2 points if you do special 1. You add 2 points to the aftershock skill. Special 2, 3 points to the aftershock skill, and special 3, you get 6 points to it if you really want to go that route. So that's pretty much it for her abilities, and she's like technically considered as the best champ in the game, pretty much because she could counter more than anybody else in the game. She, like out of all the nodes and all the champions, she counters the most. She's not the hardest hitting champ at all. She's not there for damage. She's there for utility. But yeah, with that being said, let's get into some Quake gameplay so I can give you guys how you should be quaking. Now, if you're use her wherever you go, no matter what, and questing. If you don't want to bring her in questing, that's fine. I suggest you can either you can go to Labyrinth. If you don't have Labyrinth unlocked, then you should have Realm of Legends unlocked, so that's where I'm going to go. Because this would be a good place to practice. There's only 1 energy to get there. Bring every single Quake you got. So that way, if you fail with 1, you get another one right away. Which I got 4 of them. Basically, these are all the 4 Quakes in there. Hopefully they bring the 6-star, because I really want that 6-star. But yeah. So bring all your Quakes. Don't bring nobody else. You don't need nobody else. This is just you trying to get good with the Quake when you're supposed to push the heavier decks. Now, some people say you should start off by doing a heavy and parry. I personally disagree with that for the simple fact that you're trying to because what if you're going to get stun immune, for example, right? Or like a stun immune or debuff immune or something like that. So it's, for me personally, I strongly suggest you learn the Quake and deck style first. But if you want to do the Quake and Parry style, it's fine. It's the same timing. The only difference is your timing is gonna be a little off when it comes to throwing it heavy right after you decks, because they'll be stunned. Unless they're stun immune, then there's no point to do the parry. That's why it's better, in my opinion, to do the heavy followed by the decks. So we're gonna go fight him real quick. I'm gonna do the 2-star. Now, what you want to do when you first enter a fight with any fight against when you're using Quake, you start with the 2-star. Right when they're running towards the screen, hold heavy, like right now. Hold the heavy. Okay, I got... Anyways, I got destroyed. I was not... Oh yeah, another thing you need to... I should say is you need a lot of focus when quaking, because if you lose concentration or if you look away, you're not paying attention. If you get hit with a combo, it's going to mess up your Quake until he gets stunned, or if they back away, her opponent. So basically, this is why another reason why you want to bring all the Quakes you can. So if one dies, you can bring another one. Heavy. So yeah. So there's personal. Your timing for what you want to do. Dex, heavy dex. I mean, heavy dex or dex. I can't even say it right. I'm trying to concentrate while I do this. You want to do heavy dex and heavy. So I'm doing heavy dex heavy. Dex heavy, dex heavy. So I'm heavy, dex heavy. So pretty much you got the heavy down, right? As soon as she evades, lift up your hand from doing a heavy attack, swipe back with your left. I'm getting wrecked because it's hard to concentrate to explain everything while I play, but yeah, you wanna do your heavy dex. Right after you dex, go straight back to heavy. So it's gonna be heavy dex, heavy dex, heavy dex, heavy dex, heavy dex, heavy. So I'm gonna say it out loud while I do it. Heavy dex. Hold on. Heavy dex, heavy, heavy. I'm just gonna look at my thumbs while I do this to explain it better. Hope I'm not confusing you guys, because it's kind of hard to explain why I'm trying to concentrate. So I'm doing heavy, then I'm gonna do a dex. I didn't do it there, obviously. Heavy, dex heavy, dex heavy. So heavy dex. So basically, you're holding heavy. You dex right away, right after you do the after she evades, after you use your heavy, you're gonna dex. Then right after you dex, you're gonna do heavy right away, immediately. So basically, your thumb's gonna go up from heavy, and you're gonna go right back down, because you're alternating your thumb when you're heavy using your heavy attack, and then because you're gonna dex, then you're gonna go straight back to heavy. So right after you dex, go right back down. So basically, it's gonna be heavy dex, heavy dex, heavy dex. But don't do like that. You gotta make sure you pay attention, because whenever I quake, like if I'm in a corner like this, me personally, it might not work for you guys. For me, it does. I'm staring at Quake the whole time. I'm not even looking at their energy. I'm not looking at their health. I'm not looking at anything at the opponent. The only time I ever look at the opponent or something is if they back away. Then that's when I look at the stun timer. I mean, I look at the aftershock timer to see how much time's left before they're about to be stunned. Or if they're stunned when I'm holding heavy, I'm looking at the stun time, so I gotta get ready to look back at Quake. This is what I do personally. It helps me to Quake. Heavy dex. Heavy dex. Dex. Heavy dex. Heavy dex. I'm holding heavy. Heavy dex. Heavy dex. Heavy dex. Heavy dex. Heavy. Dex heavy, dex heavy. So basically, after, like I said, after you're holding heavy, dex back, and you go immediately back down to heavy. But yeah, heavy dex, heavy dex. It's like almost at the same time you come back down with the heavy. So you're going heavy, dex. I can't even do it there. But. Now, when you're doing heavy, she cannot evade special attacks. So that's something you got to keep in mind as well. Which I'm sure some of you already know. So you can do heavy, swipe back, and then go heavy right away. Right out. As soon as you get done swiping back, you're going to push heavy right away. And then just keep rinse and repeat. That's all it is. And don't worry about how much health he's got and if it's taking forever, because what you want to do is get the timing down on when you should dex and when you should heavy. Heavy, dex, heavy. Heavy, dex, heavy. And after, and then just keep going. But don't pause in between like I'm saying it, but like heavy dex, heavy dex, heavy dex, heavy dex, heavy dex. Like, oh, I'm getting destroyed. It's whatever. I'm not even trying to beat this guy right now. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There's some advanced techniques. Like, you can Quake, Iron Man, and Infinity War. You got to do the reverse Quake style. So instead of heavy first, you got to do the dex. I'm done. Oh, I didn't bleed. All because he's got concussion. Just whatever. But yeah, heavy, dex, heavy. 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 Is that pretty much that timing? So at the start of the fight, you're gonna go heavy. Then you go dex heavy, 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 dex heavy. That's all it is. Pretty much that's all it is. Once you get that timing down, it's perfect. You get it down like, oh yeah, this is easier than I thought. Because Quake's not hard to learn. It's just the only hard part is you actually being able to Quake somebody. So I say go here first because the AI is perfect for you to learn how to Quake. Now, if you don't want to do the dex, the heavy dex one, you can want to do heavy parry. It's the same thing. Instead of dex and just parry. So you go heavy, parry. But then they'll be stunned and you just go straight back to parry, heavy. That way, that's one step. Like, I don't know. That's an extra step you got to take. Because if you could do the parry dex, parry dex. If you could do the Quake dex, then you could do Quake parry just fine. So you go heavy at the start. Then after that, once she evades their attack with her heavy, you're going to go dex heavy, 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 dex heavy. And that's when you're supposed to do it. So right now, heavy at the start. Dex heavy, dex heavy. I parried because I don't know what happened there. But yeah, dex heavy, dex heavy. Just keep doing it. Dex heavy, dex heavy, dex heavy. And then you'll get it like this. Dex heavy, dex heavy, dex heavy. But just remember that you're gonna do the heavy first. Immediately after after she evades the heavy attack, with her heavy attack, you're gonna do dex, and right after you dex, you go back down to heavy. Immediately. So it's like a boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Don't do that, because I have a bad habit of doing that. I don't know why. It's always been like that for me. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Dex heavy, dex heavy, dex heavy. And don't let go of heavy too fast, because then you're gonna do a heavy attack like that, and then you're gonna give him power. Point of quaking somebody is you don't want to give them any special at all. If that happens, then you're just gonna have to bait it out and then reset it. Now there is to me, in my opinion, the hardest champ to Quake is probably Tigra. I could be wrong on that, but for me personally, that's the hardest champ to Quake. Domino can be quaked. You gotta do the heavy attack when you're running towards at the start of the fight, and it shuts her down automatically. That one's a little time. You gotta wait a split second before you dex, basically. Like half a second. But yeah, you do your heavy. I'm gonna bleed probably. No, never mind. Good cousin. dex heavy, 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 dex heavy. And it looks like I'm doing more than that, but I'm really not, because it looks like it's 3, but it's only 2. Because the first heavy you start off dex heavy, and you're going back down. So it's, you got the heavy, dex heavy, dex heavy, dex heavy, dex heavy, heavy dex, heavy dex. But yeah, after just remember, after she evades where heavy, you're gonna dex right away. Don't wait, just do it right away. Dex, and then go right back into heavy right after you dex. So you're gonna heavy, dex heavy. Basically, that's all it is. It's a little beginner's guide, you know. It's nothing too advanced or nothing crazy. It's not like no advanced how to Quake like a master or nothing like that. Because once you learn the basics of how to Quake, you can pretty much take down anybody. As long as there's nothing to the only thing she can't really stop is auto evade stuff, and then anti-auto evade abilities, and like power gain stuff. Like Hyperion or like Simbus Supreme or Sorcerer Supreme or stuff like that, where they got passive power gains, or like Airwalker, because then you're gonna watch their specials. And the most you could get for aftershocks normally, unless you throw SP3 to get 6 more, which I've never done now that I think about it, is it's 20 if they're fully stunned. But yeah, I'm gonna end the guide here. Hopefully this helped you guys. If you got any more questions, just feel free to hit me up either on the YouTube comment section below, or my line. You can hit me up online. I'll put my line ID in the description. And with that being said, I hope you guys good luck in quaking, and I hope you can knock it down. Just remember, you do your heavy. Right after you do your heavy, you're gonna dex, and then as soon as you get done dexing your thumb, like you swiping back, you go directly straight back into heavy, and then wait for her to evade with the heavy. Then you go dex, then heavy right away. Dex heavy, dex heavy, dex heavy, dex heavy, dex heavy. And that's pretty much it. With that being said, take care, God bless. I love you guys, and if this video helped you out, press the like button, and subscribe if you're new. Tell everybody else to come check this video out, because it might be really helpful for them. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Until next time, everybody.